welcome back to my channel. I'm Arij, a psychologist and life coach, and I'm so happy you're here. If you're new, my mission is simple: to help you grow, change, and step into the best version of yourself. If you're serious about leveling up your life, check out my Patreon, where I share exclusive content, all my paid courses, and personal coaching. Let's take this journey together. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. First, to God for this incredible opportunity, and second, to all of you watching. I truly appreciate you. Now, I want you to do something with me. Repeat after me. I am trusting myself. Got it? Great. Let's start with that mindset. Now, let's dive into what I learned today. When a psychiatrist sits down with a patient, the approach needs to be detailed yet adaptable. Think of it like taking a medical history, but with a lot more flexibility. Unlike a rigid checklist that an internist might use, every session with a patient is unique. Each individual's symptoms and concerns guide the conversation in their own way. For example, someone dealing with depression might focus on their low mood, while someone with anxiety will likely talk about their fears. This kind of flexibility is crucial in helping ease patient resistance when a patient consciously or unconsciously avoids certain subjects. Maybe they're comfortable talking about their childhood, but clam up when discussing their partner, or vice versa. Patience is key here. The psychiatrist shouldn't rush or push the patient into talking about something they're not ready for. Forcing sensitive topics too soon can break the trust being built, leading to the patient associating the therapist with emotional discomfort and shutting down. The setting where this conversation takes place is just as important. Privacy is non-negotiable. Interruptions, phone calls, or any kind of distraction can really hinder progress. The environment should be quiet, cozy, and free from distractions, ideally a private room where both the psychiatrist and patient can focus on the conversation. The interview itself needs ample time. Around 45 minutes to an hour is standard. Psychiatry isn't something you can rush. It's about listening deeply, often requiring multiple sessions to fully understand what the patient is going through. This isn't like other areas of medicine where you can get a quick diagnosis in a short visit. Taking notes can be helpful, but has to be done carefully. If jotting things down starts disrupting the flow of the conversation or making the patient feel uncomfortable, it can negatively impact the session. The psychiatrist has to balance note-taking with observing the patient closely, picking up on nonverbal cues that might reveal more than what's being said. For example, a patient might visibly tense up or show discomfort when certain topics come up, offering insights into their emotional state that questionnaires or forms just can't capture. At the beginning of the session, the psychiatrist typically takes the lead, introducing themselves and guiding the conversation in a gentle way. Something simple like, "Tell me in your own words what's been bothering you," can be enough to open the door. If the patient struggles to articulate their feelings due to anxiety, the psychiatrist might step in to reassure them. "I notice you're feeling a little anxious. Would you like to talk about that?" The idea is to make the patient feel comfortable, easing them into the conversation without overwhelming them. It's essential that the psychiatrist shows genuine interest in what the patient is saying. People tend to open up more when they feel like the other person is really listening, not just going through the motions. The temptation to interrupt can be strong, especially when the psychiatrist is eager to gather specific information. But interruptions, no matter how small, can make the patient feel like they need to stick to only what the psychiatrist wants to hear, limiting the depth of the conversation. Letting the patient speak without constant interruption often leads to unexpected insights, things they didn't even plan to discuss, but are essential to understanding their experience. Lastly, while the psychiatrist's personal characteristics inevitably shape the interview, the less the patient knows about them, the better. This minimizes the risk of the patient censoring themselves or adjusting their responses based on what they think the psychiatrist's views or attitudes might be. The ultimate goal is to create a space where the patient feels safe enough to be completely open without fear of judgment, so the real work of therapy can begin. Dream interpretation is a deep dive into the unconscious mind, the space where our most intense hidden thoughts and emotions live. It's very much like therapy, where you're encouraged to speak freely without censoring your thoughts. In both scenarios, you're loosening the reins of your conscious mind, the part that's usually in charge of your actions. For instance, in therapy, someone might lie back on a couch to relax and let go of their usual restraints. Similarly, when we sleep, our bodies go still and our unconscious mind takes over. Dreams give us a window into hidden emotions and thoughts, what we call the latent content, but these often get twisted or disguised by our defense mechanisms, creating the surface-level version of the dream, manifest content. These distortions can condense many thoughts into one symbol, shift emotions, or omit key details. By breaking down these changes, we gain insight into unconscious conflicts and how the mind shields itself from emotional pain. Dream symbols serve as universal markers of the thoughts and emotions buried deep within the unconscious. Like math symbols that help solve equations without needing to trace their origins, dream symbols offer shortcuts to hidden feelings, without the need to dive too deep into someone's waking life. For instance, water often represents emotions, while flying may symbolize freedom or escape. Spotting these symbols helps us bridge the gap between a person's dream experiences and their unconscious desires or fears. However, knowing the symbols isn't enough on its own. While symbols can fast-track us to underlying emotions, deeper exploration is still necessary to truly grasp what's going on for that individual. Parapraxes, Freudian slips. Those little slips where you accidentally say the wrong thing or forget something, give us a peek into the unconscious. These mistakes happen when the ego, which usually keeps things in check, is distracted or momentarily weakened, letting repressed thoughts or desires slip out. For example, calling someone by the wrong name in conversation might point to hidden feelings, whether about that person or someone else entirely. In therapy, these slips offer quick access to unresolved internal conflicts, revealing parts of the unconscious that could otherwise take a long time to uncover through regular conversation. Early psychoanalysts were big fans of these slips, using them as proof of the unconscious and as a tool for explaining processes like displacement, shifting emotions from one person to another, and condensation, merging different thoughts into one. Transference happens when a person unknowingly redirects old feelings from early relationships onto their therapist during therapy. These emotions aren't new. They're reactions built on past experiences, like childhood relationships with parents or significant figures. For example, a patient might suddenly feel a rush of anger or affection toward their therapist, even though the situation doesn't call for it. These reactions are often traced back to unresolved emotions from early relationships. By identifying these moments of transference, therapists can better understand a person's emotional history and the patterns they've carried into their present-day relationships. It's a powerful way to explore how unresolved past issues are still shaping someone's life. Libidinal impulses are strong emotional responses, such as love or anger, that can emerge during therapy. These reactions might feel out of place and even make the patient uncomfortable or confused. For example, a patient might develop romantic feelings for their therapist or feel irrational jealousy. But with further exploration, it becomes clear that these feelings are not about the therapist, but are linked to unresolved past issues, perhaps tied to early attachments to parents or sibling rivalry. When these emotions are brought to light and understood in their original context, it helps the patient release the weight of feelings that no longer serve their present life, freeing them from emotional baggage they've been carrying unknowingly. And before we close, I want to personally invite you to take your journey even further. If you're ready to dive deeper into these topics and create meaningful, lasting change in your life, I encourage you to explore my Patreon. On my Patreon, you'll find exclusive content, in-depth courses, and personalized coaching, all crafted to support your personal growth. It's a place where you can connect with like-minded individuals, a community where we learn, grow, and thrive together. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found valuable insights that you can take with you. Remember, every small step forward is still progress. So keep moving ahead, no matter how small the steps may seem. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of What I Learned in a Day. And if there's a specific topic you'd like me to cover, please feel free to share it in the comments below. Your feedback truly means the world to me, and I'm here to create content that speaks to you and resonates with your experiences. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep shining bright.